You know, when they built the first penitentiaries in Philadelphia and New York and elsewhere, they were deliberately built to take punishment out of the public square, to make it a secret and hidden matter. But the people who designed those penitentiaries and the people who wrote the sermons and pamphlets and so on that helped to bring them into being also very deliberately intended for those prisons to serve a public function, to be visible. Right? So those incredible Gothic facades at Eastern State or the tombs in Manhattan or many other prisons were designed to convey a sense of the terror and dread that one might have in relationship to the dungeons of the old world, even as the very sort of men of enlightenment and sympathy who were building the prisons wanted to describe what was happening inside them as a discipline of humane correction. Right? So they had a divided audience, you could say, right? For those who they imagined to be potential criminals, they wanted to menace them with these facades, but for their own elite circle of reformers, they wanted to describe what they were doing in terms of modernity, humanity, and enlightenment. That relationship between different audiences, different versions of authority to report on what happens inside the prison has been a contested one since that time. What's going on now is a very curious kind of hiding in plain sight. I mean, on one hand, I think that there's a wish among those of us who research and write about the problem of incarceration and who think of it as a crisis, to say that if we could just expose what was happening, if we could bring it into public view, that a democratic society, a humane society, would not allow this to happen. Right? So what needs to happen is the truth needs to be told about what's going on inside there. The horrible truth needs to be told about what's going on there. On the other hand, we have right now a vast amount of news media, but also, and I think in some ways especially, entertainment media representations of life on the inside of prisons that sensationalize the violence there, that sensationalize the rape there, and that make no effort at all to conceal that the inside of prison can be a violent and brutal place. And in some ways make it difficult to say that if only people realized how horrible it is to be inside prison, the American people, whatever that is, would never allow this to go on. Right? So there's and part of what I've really been feeling at this conference as well is that at some point, the effort to tell the truth about the prison comes up against the problem of a public sphere that isn't what we imagine it to be. That is, that truth-telling and critique and reason don't, in some ways, transform policy in the ways that we might wish they could.